Good afternoon or morning or evening or late morning or early evening or nighttime to all of our listeners all over the world.
I'm confused, Rick, already.
A global podcast, Michael. I am confused as well. And you know what? Speaking of timeline, for those of you who are tuning in, we are not on LinkedIn right now for some reason. LinkedIn thought this was the past. So apparently Toronto has gone through some sort of time warp. All of our internet was out earlier. I apologize to anybody who is wanting to watch this on LinkedIn. Come see us on YouTube. We're there. There's a comment on there. Really excited to be here anyway, tech issues aside, for Recruiting EQ episode 62.
Wow, 62.
62. Lucky number 62.
Lucky.
And,
That's a lot, Rick, isn't it? 62 podcasts.
I know. Yeah. Crazy, right? It's like starting to feel like a real thing. It's not going anywhere. And this is a bit of a different thing too, right? We have our good friend and colleague and client Michael Green, who is here today for a feature on his relatively new but very successful company Unico. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Rick.
And yeah, we figured it would be a good way to properly introduce you to our respective networks and just have a bit of a chat about what's going on. You've sort of seen it all from being in larger companies to starting your own right now. And I think it'd be good to sort of use your story to situate a little bit about what's happening out there in staffing, what's changed, what's working, what's not working over the past couple of wild years out there.
Yeah, brilliant.
We're bracing ourselves for this journey.
We're bracing ourselves for the journey and the tech issues. Julie, yes. You were saying you've had some issues.
Yeah, I would. I'm going to say right now that if I'm on and off, it's not because I have no interest in what you're talking about, but in the last hour with someone else, I was off 4 times, so it becomes a little bit crazy. So if I'm out, I'll give it a couple of times, trying to get back in. But if it happens more than a couple of times, I'll probably just call the people that can fix the issue.
Yeah. It's for those who don't really know what we're talking about, it's like a almost Canada-wide internet outage earlier today. So we're lucky to be on at all right now.
Yes. So. And we're good in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, we're good in the UK. So our internet at the moment is fine. So fingers crossed
as well, Jenny. Yeah, the US.
Yeah, you and me.
Yeah.
It's the other two, isn't it? It's the other two that technology today.
Always the problem children, right? Me and Rick.
Yeah, it's inadvertently a commercial for being in the UK or Dallas instead of Canada right now.
Yeah. Or be in the UK and move to Dallas. What about that? I mean, imagine that.
Mm-hmm. If only we had a guest who could let us know what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you again for being here. And yeah, disclaimer aside, if you are watching this, FYI, anywhere that is linked to it, so unfortunately YouTube won't really, LinkedIn may not work, but do please send us your comments, your questions for Michael, for us, for anybody. It's always appreciated. We have great participation on this show, so please do so, and we'll read them out in the middle. But let's get right into it, shall we? Since it's already 12:10. Michael, thank you for being here. We wanted to sort of get a little bit of a background on you and perhaps dive into a little bit about who you are, who's the man behind the logo and all that kind of thing. Like upbringing, if you can give us a bit of the story of how you came into staffing in the first place.
Yeah, of course, Rick. Yeah. So I'm Michael Green. I've been in staffing for 15 years now. I started my staffing career in London for a company called Hayes. So prior, but before that, I spent 12 months doing an internship as a trainee headhunter. So I had offers from some IT companies and some retail companies, and I actually chose a small headhunting company up in Leeds in the UK and absolutely loved it. So I went back to university, finished my degree, went down to London, and I joined a company called Hayes, where I recruited for tier 1 investment banks. So we recruited for compliance officers, risk officers, right after the financial crash. So it was a really, really interesting time to go and do that. Absolutely loved it. One UK top biller, built a team up to about 10 recruitment consultants. I then got a chance to move to America. So I never thought that I would end up living and working in America, and the opportunity came. We grabbed it. So I went with my previous company and opened up an office in Philadelphia. We grew that to about 200 consultants. I actually started off 2 of their brands. So the one brand specialized in ServiceNow recruitment, both perm and contract. We grew that to about 50 consultants. Probably at the time, about its peak, it was around 10 million, 12 million net fee income. And part of a second brand, which did AWS recruitment, and we grew that to 25 consultants and around 6 to 8 million a year in net fee income. I then got sick of the cold weather in Philly. It's a brilliant city, Philadelphia, but it's way too cold for my liking. So I then got the opportunity to move to Dallas. So I run their sales and operations team here in Dallas. It was 100 recruitment consultants doing Microsoft and AWS recruitment, perm and contract, and there's about 22 million at its peak in net fee income. And I then in 2024 in April finally had enough of working for somebody else, and I took the plunge and started Unico. So as I said, I've always loved recruitment, and it was always, after probably about the first 12 months of doing it, it was always my dream to start my own staffing company. Right, it sounds a bit cheesy, but it was. I knew I couldn't achieve the things I wanted to achieve working with somebody else, and I love a challenge. So I finally took the plunge. I launched it in April 2024. Touch wood, we had an incredible first 12 months. And now I've had the pleasure of working with you guys to bring in some talent. So I've just hired my first person. Shout out to Emmett Cullen, who's doing fantastic in his first month.
Yeah.
And I've got an office in Dallas, which I'm trying to fill up. And yeah, brilliant. It's going really, really well. Touch wood.
Michael, I don't know if this is in our sort of stream of questioning here, but where did the name Unico come from?
Great question, Julie. So I'd planned in the background for about 12 months this company, and everything you can think of, like 40 pages of Word documents. And the one thing I really struggled with was the name. To come up with a good recruitment name is almost impossible. Everything's taken. I find that the kind of double barrel names now are quite old, like ABC,
Raymond George.
Raymond George.
Exactly, yeah.
Not just the name or the people behind it. My God,
Both. Yes.
It could be both. Yeah. So, but no, and I'm really persistent on Unico doing things different, putting our people first, putting our clients first. We're focused really on the top % of candidates. So I started with the word unique as a unique offering and unique service, and it kind of got to the point of Unico. And luckily, no other staffing company has taken the name. So I quickly grabbed that one. And yeah, I mean, it's short, it's simple. People know it, people understand it, people can say it. So yeah, it's good.
It got kind of Italian from unique.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Pretty Italian. I might say
the logo actually has nothing to do with the name. I actually found it when I was going through creating all the branding. That looks pretty cool, so I'll use that.
When you were creating the branding, like, was it the kind of thing where you could put it, like, because it's sort of an origami bird in a way, right? Like, is what it looks like.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I kind of found it like the bird and the kind of semicircle thing. I put it together and the colouring on top, and just felt it worked. So that was it. It was born.
Nice. Well, question for you, just to go back over some and unpack some of the things that you brought up there in your background, Michael. First of all, most people say that they did not choose recruitment, that it kind of chose them, right? I'm a good example of that. I only got into recruitment in my 30s, and that was a long time ago, just to date myself. Yeah, like, did you want to do something else in life, and then recruitment just found you, or were you like, you know what, I know people who are in recruitment, this seems like a fun job, and then fell in love with it? What was that like for you?
When I was a kid, I actually wanted to be a surgeon or a doctor. And I quickly realized that I was nowhere near clever enough to be a surgeon or a doctor. So after that, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I went to university and did economics, but just because I loved it at school. And then for my placement year, companies came in and just pitched like their placement year to us. So we had like HP come in and Infosys and all these kind of IT companies and banks and whatever else. And then this headhunting company came in, and they just looked really cool. Their job sounded really cool. Now they just kind of poach people from one massive company into another company, and they got paid these huge fees for it. What I did know is I wanted to be massively successful, and I wanted to earn loads of money. And these guys really sold to that. And then I went through, like a grueling interview process of like 8 interviews face to face with these guys, and I finally got the job. Yeah, like they were really, really good at what they did. And then I left and just absolutely loved it. I had loads of success. I love to compete, love to win. So it just kind of all fitted in. And I did actually go to London and interview at different companies rather than just recruitment, just to make sure that I'm making the right decision. It was still sales jobs, but it wasn't like recruitment. And I just landed back in recruitment and just kind of knew that was it then. 12 months in, I actually had a rough start. I didn't make a deal for 6 months. And my boss at the time was saying, I don't understand. Like, you're doing all the stuff which I'm telling you to do, and you're not doing a deal. And then it finally came. And after that, I just took off.
But at the same time, though, like you mentioned earlier, you started off kind of right in the middle end of the market crash in financial services. Do you think that the fact that you were in a really tough market right away, do you feel you gained better or different skills right out of the gate than if you were in an easy market and you waltzed in and were able to make placements willy-nilly kind of thing?
Well, I started in 2012, so it was a year or two after the financial crash, but it was still banking and financial services, and obviously knock-on effect was still going. But I actually was doing a different market to compliance, and I saw the compliance team just across the office, always ringing the bell and doing all these deals. I was like, right, I want to get in that team. So I literally made it happen and went to the boss of the entire office or division and said, "Oh, I want to move to that team," and he made it happen. And so, yeah. First bit of advice to people: always chase the opportunity. Don't just settle for the thing you're in.
And aside from just like pure grit and will and wanting to get there, you see some people who like they want to get there, they want to make a lot of money or whatever, but they just can't seem to connect the dots, right? They can't seem to get that magic recipe to success, whether it's in recruitment or other kinds of sales. Do you feel, this show being called Recruiting EQ as it is, do you feel like there are other qualities that you ended up finding were really useful to help connect the dots like that to get quick success, or that you saw from other people that you're like, oh man, this guy's really got a great pitch angle thing that he's doing that you brought into the fold for yourself?
When you're starting off in recruitment and maybe you're a trainee or a recruitment consultant or senior consultant, this is quite cliche advice or quite obvious advice, but nothing beats hard work, right? It's as I'm saying, hard work beats talent every time, and it's so true. If you're giving it 100% every single day, you will end up winning. I was always first in the office, last to leave. I wasn't afraid to do things on a weekend. That put me ahead of my competition internally and externally. You've got to learn the process and follow the process. Never cut corners. Every time you cut corners, you end up failing. And I think it's just at that early stage, it's about being a sponge and just learning as much as you can. Like, I was obsessed with the market. I learned about the customers, how banking worked. I quickly mapped out who the customers were, what the org charts were. Back then, we didn't have LinkedIn, so we had to do it all via referrals and actually mapping it over the phone. And we had a big red book in the office, and every single time we'd go in and draw the bank's org chart on the book. Like, it was really old school. But the faster which I became an expert in what I did, I then knew exactly what buttons to push to get the job on, sell the candidates in.
Michael, do you think by not making a placement in your first 6 months, that's really helped you understand in terms of not just the effort, but also with other people that you hire as well, that actually if you're doing all the right stuff, it will happen at some point because you're doing the right stuff?
100%, yeah. I've hired a lot of people over the last 13, 15 years. for me, it's all about attitude and about buying themselves and the hard work. And if you're seeing the inputs and the signs of this person's going to be great, don't get hung up on the immediate placement or how fast they can get to a placement, because you're hiring the person for the next, hopefully 2 to 10 years, maybe, right? It's not the next 6 months. And by inputs, I don't mean just logging KPIs in the CRM and great, the person on paper is doing a good job. Like you know the quality that goes into it, and are they on the right path, and do they get it, and are they commercial? Can they join the dots? Can they get leads from people? Like all the signs which we know makes a good recruiter. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It feels like, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, Michael, from your own experience and also people you've hired and trained at the various companies you've been at. But it feels like, you know, you brought up, of course, obviously working hard work beats talent. I totally agree with that statement. But it feels like on the quality side of things, that kind of gets lost in the balance among those who work hard. I feel like there are some people who don't really take the time, like you're saying, to understand the market, understand like things that are outside of just recruitment, you know what I mean? And get the greater context, understand their clients better, and so on. I feel like that's kind of devalued. I feel like that's considered a distraction in some environments. And it's like, just grind out the numbers and you'll get there. But I feel like one of the differentiators is you said you really got to understand the market, and you know the quality of your conversations was probably much better as a result with people. So you achieve more with less, in a sense. Where do you feel like that? How do you feel about that? The balance between like some of that extracurricular stuff you have to do to get the quality up, as opposed to just grinding out stats and making the same kind of call all day, every day.
Yeah, that's such a really interesting point, Rick. So I've obviously for Unico, I had to almost redefine myself, because my processes from 5 or 6 years ago, when I last actually properly ran a desk and recruited, have completely changed. The market's changed, the way customers buy, the way customers interact, what they expect of staffing companies. I think 10 years ago, just crunching out numbers all day and hitting the phone for 10 hours a day worked, right? It was a volume game, it was a numbers game. It didn't matter if you're doing investment banking or or construction. It did work because that's what staffing was. I think now it's all about quality and about getting something and having a really unique go-to-market plan and having a really unique USP, and everything you do is to the highest quality and the highest quality candidates, and customers really value that, and that's how you get more from it, versus every day you're just plugging in KPIs into a CRM and you look busy on paper, but really the work is so shoddy. You won't get anywhere.
There's something interesting you said in there too, which is like that the client's expectations have changed. How they seem to change often now because of the market going bonkers. But that aside, like, what are the main changes that you've seen? Obviously, like you're saying, fewer candidates, better quality candidates. What kind of things are you seeing that have changed in terms of the client relationship that were not the case, let's say pre-COVID, 5-10 years ago?
Yeah, well, my journey's been pretty interesting. So I said I stopped running a proper desk probably 6 years ago, and I was leading and managing teams. When I was still like a billing manager, I had about 10 of my own customers who just fed me jobs all the time. So I basically didn't run a proper desk for 5 or 6 years. And then when I've come to do it again for Unico last April, I quickly realized inside about a week that my old processes and the old style recruitment just do not work. I didn't get a single response in a week. And it was like, I either work this out very quickly or I'm back working for somebody else and Unico fails. So I had to dig pretty deep and work it out and what it was.
Yeah.
My summary of it is that relationships are more important than they ever have been. And again, that sounds really obvious about, well, of course, sales is relationships, but you have to take the time to really build it up. But then when you do, you've got to really show your value. And the value comes into like, what makes Unico different to the other staffing companies which I'm competing against? How am I offering a different or a better service to my customers and candidates? And why would they want to speak to me rather than anybody else? So that's the first part you've got to really nail. But then the actual second part is about smart business development. Like I've got at the moment 15 clients signed up and who I'm working with, got terms of business with. They all came through introductions and smarter business development than just hammering out emails to any point of contact, hoping somebody replies to me.
Yeah. The relationship piece too. I feel like I'm curious to know how you feel you can gauge when you have a good relationship with a client, because it's hard, right? In staffing, we always think, oh yeah, I have a great relationship with the client or with the candidate, and then suddenly the candidate comes over like, yeah, I've actually been talking to another rec to rec, I have another offer, you haven't known about it the whole time, and you're all stabbed in the heart and stuff. We've all been heartbroken at least once or twice like that. With clients in particular, I feel like there's the I'm a good reliable vendor type relationship, there's the we're buddies relationship, which some people do very well in staffing. I find where it's like we don't talk about work, right? Like we've managed to become friends, and they think that that's the strongest. There's the SME type relationship where it's like this is the person that they'll call. You want to be the person they call if they want advice, literal advice about their job. I've juggled myself, which I think is most effective. Obviously, it's a bit different with everybody, but how do you feel like what's where you feel like, oh yeah, I've hit a sweet spot in this relationship? How does that feel for you?
There are multiple steps and phases of a client relationship, right from absolutely freezing cold, never heard of me before, to we're just getting to know each other, we're suddenly working together doing business, and then it becomes I know Michael, I trust Michael, I won't go anywhere else for my staffing needs within this sector apart from Michael, and I'm there to help and support. I've actually fired two clients since starting Unico, which I can't imagine many founders have done that, because everyone's desperate for jobs and business. Well done, Julie. I wasn't one of them, luckily. So
not yet. Just be careful.
Oh snap!
No, I'm just joking. You know,
warning shot. Yeah, because I'm running this business as a true consulting business and partner, and our speciality is IT recruitment. What I'm not is just somebody who's used to send my clients CVs or just they give me a job, I fill it. I'm not really interested in that. I will happily introduce my competitors to those companies and say, just work with this guy, because he will ping you 10 resumes to every job and you'll just pick one and go and hire it. Right from the start, I set out how I work and why that's important to the client. And I spend more time about our partnership and doing like a discovery in terms of like, what is their actual business today? What do they want to do? What's their pain points? How do I fit into that? And if I fit into that and they have a genuine need for me, we can then go and talk about their live jobs, and I'll do a normal job specification and fill the job. So I've got my best relationships. I'm only 12 months in, right? So they're still developing, but the best relationships, I'm on texting terms with them. They ask my advice. We consult with each other. They're happy for me to float ideas past them, potential left field resumes. It's not like a formal business relationship, even though it is. It's more of a like I have a constant need in this area, and I won't go anywhere else but Michael because I trust him, and we get on really well. And I've never let them down; they've never let me down, and it's a really simple relationship. And it's just that I bring them the best talent, and they are grateful for it. That's it.
Yeah. There's something you said in there which is like really, I think, important and hard to nail down, is sort of really knowing who you are, what you want, and what you don't want for business. Like I had a sales trainer ever so long ago, and I didn't really get it when I was a kid, but it stuck with me. And he said something along the lines of, your success in business and sales in particular won't be predicated by what you choose to do. It'll be predicated by what you choose not to do. Just because there's only so much time in the day. And the worst case scenario is taking on the wrong clients, to going for the wrong business, because now you've invested all this time, you've burned yourself out, and you've come up with nothing. But his whole thing was, knowing what not to take is more important than just taking, basically, than getting. business. Kind of sounds like that's what you're saying in a way, right? Is knowing when to turn down business is part of the key.
Yeah, and I have the mentality that I have earned my stripes in this industry. I believe that I'm one of the best in what I do. I have a genuine value add to my customers, and I will give them the best service, and I will support them in every way I possibly can. So that's what I also expect from them is a level of respect and a level of partnership to go and achieve the goal of bringing in the best people to their organization to help them with their huge projects and transformations. What I'm not going to be is just not treated properly or professionally.
I think I'd summarize that in it's like finding your people almost. It's like finding the like-minded people. And I think you know it. As soon as you found someone, it's like in any relationship. It's like once you know when you found it, and then you're all in. And that's what both do with not even having really to say it almost. It's like you're both in, you know it. And I think that relationship then blossoms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's the whole thing is two-way, right? This only works if it's a proper two-way relationship. Otherwise, the client might as well go on Monster or Dice or something and just go look at resumes on a job portal.
For sure. Do you feel like in the SME category, like trying to be the SME relationship where you're like, I'm the subject matter expert, I'm here to, help, support, and advise, and really get you the best talent? Do you feel, I have noticed, and perhaps, and this goes for anyone here too, Julie and Jenny as well, I have noticed that because the market has been so challenging, more and more times I get into a meeting where they have had some sort of plan now. So there's more of a concrete idea in mind of what they do or don't want to hire because they're tightening up in some way. They've had meetings, discussions. They don't want to take any risks or whatever, which makes it sometimes hard to be that SME person. And also sometimes by the time the plan gets put into action, the market has changed again. And then, and this is an ongoing issue we're all facing, and it's kind of no one's fault. It's just like difficult. How have you felt about that, or how is navigating that element of, things changing rapidly and people sort of having a narrow focus? How do you sort of get outside of that to keep doing right by your clients, you know what I mean, and being that SME?
Sorry, Rick, you mean that in my market as an SME, that then that market shifts and changes, so then I have to shift and change?
Yeah, and the hiring profile, like, example, client will say, okay, Michael, we're coming to you, but this time we only want to see somebody out of this kind of company with this kind of, but not too much of this and sort of less of that, and we can't really go outside of that because there's no room for error right now, and so on and so forth. And then a month later, we'll be like, okay, we've scrapped that entirely, and now we've decided that the market dictates that what we really want is actually this. And so, you know what I mean? That's something I have not only seen but heard from a lot of other people out there, just as a response to the ups and downs. And I just wanted to get your take on that, I guess.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't really had that because I've picked a niche to start with, which I know really well. And we spend a lot of time staying up to date with what's relevant and what's going on. And I think as a really good headhunter or niche recruiter, you've got to be on the bleeding edge constantly, right? And know what it is. So if my client's talking about something which is fairly old or current, fine, I can talk about it. If somebody really wants to push the envelope and sit on the bleeding edge, I can talk about it. And I have a candidate who can also talk about it. For example, right now, so we specialize at the moment in ServiceNow recruitment. We do cover wider technologies and C-suite and VP positions across employee collaboration tools. But my expertise is definitely ServiceNow. And it's one of the fastest growing SaaS products on the planet. But they're pushing the AI envelope pretty hard. And they've just got something called CRM now as well. Companies aren't really playing in that world yet, but a couple of partners are talking about it. So then we're able to talk about that. But then all the customers are still stuck on the stuff from 2 years ago or 5 years ago. We're able to talk about that. So it's about having a niche actually covering the product properly. I think any recruiter is out there doing generic stuff. Like I just do broad IT, and it could be anything from AI to data to cybersecurity to Salesforce. You've got no way of ever being an SME or knowing about what to do in that because it's so broad. It's scary.
I think though, when you're an expert, if you go down the inch wide, mile deep in terms of that's the focus, you're laser focused, then you become an advisor as well, don't you? Because you've got your finger on the pulse, you're talking to the people that are doing this in the marketplace, and then hopefully your customers are able to understand, maybe their plans. They might be able to adjust it to start with, because if that person isn't out there, they're not going to be able to hire them. What can they hire? So you become more of a trusted advisor, don't you, in that situation?
100%, Jenny. Yeah. You need to go an inch wide and a mile deep in this stuff, and become an actual expert. I mean, I'll be honest. Our strategy is to spearhead into enterprise companies with ServiceNow because we're experts in it, and then we'll mushroom across the account and talk about anything they want: Salesforce, cybersecurity. I've just filled about 6 Jira jobs. But our expertise is ServiceNow. That's our strongest skill set, and we are an inch wide and mile deep in that. But yeah,
I think one of the things that, and I'll stroke your ego a little bit here, Michael, but one of the things that I've also noticed about you, you're very publicly very open with what you've achieved and where you're at and what your strategy is, almost like the secrets of what maybe has made you successful or where you're going. And I think, I think that's fantastic, because so many people, like majority of people, are not. It's like, okay, this is like what we've done, or how much we've built, or who are our customers, and you're very proud of that, which I think is actually very unusual. And hats off to you for that.
Oh, thanks, Julie. Yeah. To be honest, I never actually used to really post on LinkedIn before starting Unico. But I'm really, right from day one, I was really persistent on, I've got to build my brand, I've got to build Unico's brand, and I've created a marketing strategy around that, mainly through LinkedIn for now. But we get thousands of impressions for every post, likes, comments, inbound leads. But the first couple of posts I did like that, it felt a bit weird. I was thinking, right, am I going to get berated online of just, this guy's just like full of himself, or we're sick of hearing about successes, and but actually it's been the opposite. Like, it's amazing in America how supportive your network is. Like, I've had people call me up randomly, and I just want to say, unbelievable job, like it's fantastic to see. And when I'm hiring or trying to hire the best talent for Unico, and they go through and see the posts, it makes a world of difference. And I think clients can also look at it and say, like, this guy's the real deal. And everything I ever post is 100% factually correct. I've never inflated numbers or tried to make things look like they're not, because I just don't believe in that.
And by doing that, though, you're essentially becoming a thought leader in the field that you operate in, aren't you?
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah.
But I think what stands out to me, though, is not just LinkedIn. It's just any forum you'll tell people how it is, and you'll almost like give away the trade secrets, like the stuff that people just like put on their spreadsheet and don't necessarily tell anyone else. It's like, I think that's great and admirable, actually. It's like not a lot of people are so open about where they're at and where they're coming from, however big or small it is. It's just, it is as it is, and that's good with you, right?
Yeah, no, I hopefully, yeah, and I think that if you're just honest and transparent and just lay these things out, right, it's like the talent which I'm trying to hire buys into it, the clients and candidates buy into it. The truth is that most of my competitors are probably too arrogant to listen or change, so they won't go and take the facts or information, or they won't adapt what they're doing, and that's perfectly okay. But yeah. Hopefully it's making a difference.
There's an inherent confidence to that too, though, to just being like, here are my cards. And I think that actually plays, it's a vulnerability that plays in a way that is confident, I think. And it's a good example of the personal branding approach, not just company branding, right? Of like Unico is this and that. Like everyone has lofty sort of, you know, passive voice, grand statements on their branding, right? Which is fine, but it all becomes noise after a while. Seeing you talk about things in a realistic way, I think situates it being more as they could picture, oh, this is human beings doing a thing and it's working out in some way. It just feels like, oh, that's it. In today's market, that's what constitutes strong branding rather than the aloof, you know, picture of being in an ivory tower. It's like people feeling they get to know you a little, like on a personal branding front, seems to land better nowadays, which I think is like a big difference from a few years ago from a business LinkedIn standpoint. So it's another interesting point that you bring up there, Julie.
That's a great point, Rick. I found the last 12 months, the more human I am and the more laid back I am and the more natural I am with anybody and everybody which I engage with, the better I get. As before, in my previous jobs, it was all very formal. It was like, you know, I was like a salesman, almost like a robot. It was just, you know, it was very structured and formal and rigid. And it doesn't matter if it's a cold call to a client, a current client, a top candidate, or somebody trying to work for Unico. Just the more human you are in every single interaction, whether you're writing it or speaking it, and obviously face to face, the more traction you're going to get.
I think that's also partly around being in a sort of like quite a corporate culture, that there's all this sort of stuff, this clutter around you that you almost like sort of become in some ways. And then when you start your own business, it's like there isn't any of that corporate clutter, good or bad or indifferent. And it's almost like allows yourself to be more of you more often. And I think that's what you almost have to be to actually get through. I think that's a major difference in working for someone. I think the bigger and the more sort of regimented it is, the more difficult it is to be truly yourself always.
Yeah, so before Unico, I'd worked at two companies which were large corporate processes in place, which of course you need in large companies. But what I've really found the last 12 months is that you realize the amount of kind of politics and bureaucracy, and almost like you are restricted in terms of meetings. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I think back now, I spent 6 hours of my 10-hour day in meetings every day. It was wild. But I don't know how we ever did business. But you are restricted, and you whether you realize it or not. But then if you're starting your own company, it's all down to you, and you can literally do whatever you want. I can post whatever I want to today on LinkedIn and say whatever I want to do. That's on me, whether it's good or bad. But
yeah, don't have to conform. You're conforming only to your to whatever you think is right or not right. So it's like going back to the firing clients thing. It's like you haven't got to go through structures around like, should I, shouldn't I, or should I just park them or whatever. It's like, you know what, this is not a good relationship for either of us. You're out. So which is quite a lovely feeling in some ways, to be able to make that decision and actually do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's starting Unico was the best professional thing I've ever done. It's 12 months in, absolutely loving it.
I'd have to imagine it's a bit of a timing thing too, though, right? Like if you just got your start in recruitment and you don't really know better, and you start going on LinkedIn just saying whatever the heck your opinions are, you're liable to fall on your face a lot more, which could be a good learning experience. But I mean, the timing element of it too, Michael, I think I would have to imagine if you share like what it is that you're doing, part of why what you're doing is successful is because you are yourself. You have taken all this time and put in all this time and effort to get to know the space and to know ServiceNow. So it's like no one's going to be able to copy it off of a LinkedIn post and go do the same thing because they haven't put in all that extra time to learn the space and be at the razor's edge of innovation on ServiceNow like you have, right? So it's like there's a certain safety in being like, yeah, this is what I did, but you know, hold my beer, because I mean, I put in like countless hours to get to this point, right? So it's not like you wake up in the morning and you can just do it either.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, looking back, I probably could have started Unico sooner, but I don't regret not starting it sooner. All of my experience of recruiting, managing, building teams, I failed 100 times before at doing certain parts of the job. All of that's now led me to a point of I'm extremely comfortable and confident in what I'm doing. I can make the right business decisions. I know what to avoid, what not to do, what risks to take, what risks to probably avoid right now. For example, my first hire, I probably interviewed 30 people before hiring him, and they wanted to join, and I declined them because it had to be the right fit. And touch wood, 5 weeks in, it's going absolutely fantastic.
I believe a direct quote from him, if we may perhaps embarrass him slightly, was, "This is the best decision I've made in my entire life." Sorry, Emmett, but yeah, like, I mean, yeah. So that obviously feels like it's a good match on both sides, which is always lovely to see.
Yeah. It's couldn't be going better. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
but yeah, thanks again to Raymond and George as well. You guys are brilliant.
Well, thank you.
Shucks. Thanks,
this is the like sort of accolade. But I think that with this, though, I think the difference. And we actually did a podcast a few weeks back, didn't we, Jen? You were in that one with Lee and with Rick around onboarding. So I think that from Emmett's experience, a big difference here, and I know you put a lot of time in this with around onboarding and making that a really great experience. So I'm sure that you feel passionately about that, like Jenny, particularly you do, don't you? So. I think that's great, because that's the first experience that someone has when they enter in the door. And I don't think I'm anywhere near as good at doing that as you are, but you put a lot of attention and care into that, I think, Michael. And he came out, or is coming out the other end really quickly and very happy.
Yeah, and probably back to Rick's point about people not having that level of experience. I've hired so many people in America, and so many have failed or all done really, really well. You kind of learn that onboarding journey is just absolutely critical. As somebody who's got, say, 5 years staffing experience, maybe never managed somebody or managed 2 to 10 people, they wouldn't really think about it, because right, just get them in, get them on the phones, and that'll be fine. And I'm the expert, I'll teach them, and they will probably end up failing or leaving because the onboarding experience wasn't good. So it was critical for me to spend a lot of time getting all the onboard and the training for the first 12 weeks sorted out, clear expectations. Brought Emmett down to Dallas for a week, and we sat together face to face. So yeah, any advice to anybody out there starting a company or looking to hire people, nail your onboarding. Ours still isn't perfect. It's not even fully complete, but it is a million miles better than most startups, I'd imagine.
There is just to go back to your statement, Julie, about your onboarding, our onboarding. I mean, like, I consider myself very lucky to have gotten in at the point where it was still relatively new, certainly in North America, right? So my onboarding was that I got access to be with you and go with you, Julie, on client visits and meet candidates and see what you thought, like face to face. Because it was pre-COVID and it was much more, so COVID interrupted that. But that is like great. It's a lucky thing to join a good company early on that way, because you have access to the owner, you can just sort of literally observe and be like, okay, like you learn so much by doing that you couldn't possibly just learn in abstraction through meetings or anything else.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually. And I think that, size isn't everything, but when you're joining a small organization, you immediately have access to the top or close to the top, who are, hopefully the people who are most experienced or best in that particular area, which is why they're at the top. Hopefully that's not always true, but let's hope that that's mostly the case. So immediately you're spun, through osmosis, just picking up everything that they know is a fast track to success, you would hope, right? So I think that that's incredibly powerful, not something that you think about when you think of startup or smaller companies. If you're thinking about joining or moving, it's sometimes people think bigger is better. Well, I don't know why bigger is better, actually. Yes, there are some things that could be better, but I think that this is a real platform to propel you if that's what you want. So having access to the guy or gal or a group of guys or gals is a fast track lane.
You meet clients face to face, Julie. Come down to Dallas then.
I know, crazy, huh? But yes, of course I do, because that's how you build the best relationship. I'm a big advocate for that. Funny enough, Rick and I were talking about that yesterday. It's like, yeah, we need to get down to Dallas. Absolutely.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, and I mean, we were going to go to New York too. The last time I was in New York last year, but And I've been many times in my life, of course, but like we were gonna go this year. I think I was planning on going like days before the whole tariff fiasco began. It was like, maybe let's just wait and see a little bit. But complex as it's been, that or COVID or God knows what, it's just there's no replacement for it. It just even just understanding how to pitch a client. If you go meet them and go to the office and hang out with them for a little bit, no matter how many meetings you do online, unfortunately, you can only get so close, right? Meeting them for real and actually going where candidates are going to show up 3 days a week, 5 days a week, it's just all the difference.
Do you know what's strange now, though? So I went to a conference 2 weeks ago in Vegas, and it took me about a day to get used to getting to the kind of face-to-face meetings, go randomly, shake their hands, and give the pitch, whatever else. All because obviously now it's all just video calls. It is so different doing a video call to doing anything face-to-face, and we don't realize it until we're actually thrown in that environment again, and we've got to go and do it.
Totally. Well, when I was in New York last year, I got up at like 3:00 in the morning, right, to get to the airport on time to be able to go. My first meeting was at 8 a.m. I was early for it, but still, like commuting into Manhattan when I hadn't been there for a couple of years, and then like getting your bearings and then going straight into a meeting. There's this brief moment where you're just kind of like, "Am I crazy? I've never met these people before. Like, what am I doing here?" You know what I mean? And then you're like, "No, okay, I remember how to do this now. It's not a big deal, right? Like I've been doing this for years." But yeah, certainly, because it's not normal any longer. So it's this weird special occasion that's almost like you get nervous and excited for a second, then you realize that this is my job for like a decade. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are your future plans, Michael?
So my future plans, I want to build Unico, first of all, to be known within the industries which we operate as being a top staffing company. Right? Our customers, our clients look at us and say, those guys are the best at what they do. I want to get it to 100 recruitment consultants across the US, but not just headcount, all 100 being billable, profitable. I want multi-location, so definitely Dallas and New York. I'm open to other locations as well. And ultimately, my goal is to grow the company and sell it and retire as early as I can to go and travel the world. So I'll be completely honest about that. I'm honest to everybody I interview that's the plans. So, but
what's the first country that you want to visit when you've done that? What's the first plane ticket you're going to buy?
If you ask me that. If you ask me or ask my wife, it's two different questions. But sorry, two different answers. But for me, I would love to go to India. I've been quite lucky in my life to travel quite a bit. I just love it. So my wife's probably worst nightmare is India. So we'll have to debate that one. Maybe Japan. We'll see.
Is that where she wants to go, Japan?
Yeah. So that's the plan anyway. But we'll see how long we get there. But yeah, I want to grow the company, be massively successful. I want to also diversify outside of tech. So obviously we saw the big fluctuation post-COVID with the tech markets, and I think that we're massively exposed if we just stayed in tech. So eventually I want to branch into cybersecurity, which is obviously still tech, but then into maybe energy, looking at life sciences potentially. That's probably about 2-3 years away. For now, we're focused on just bringing in really good people and dominating the ServiceNow market and the wider employee collaboration tools. I've got a goal this year to finish with 10 people, including myself. So we've got some way to go. Nudge, nudge, Julie.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So finish this year with 10 and go from there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Who would you say, and maybe this isn't something you want to share or not, but who would you say is your sort of biggest competitor within this space?
The ServiceNow market is quite interesting. There aren't really any like major big competitors, like you're competing against like a Robert Half or a Kforce or anything. It's made up of multiple really small competitors who are like 1 to 2 man bands. So the market's growing massively, and there's so much opportunity, and it's really the true experts in it. There's probably about 6 or 7 of us who are all 1 to 3 people. So the opportunity in the market's massive. If you know what you're doing and you've got a great USB and go to market, we can go and dominate it. Just this week, last 6 working days, I've pulled in 9 committed jobs. 6 of them are retainers. So it's busy.
Do you think that's the timing for ServiceNow? Because it's a window type thing, right? Like if you go too early, then companies aren't ready to adopt AI related or process automation and stuff like that. And if you go too late, then they've already gotten service providers. And I ask this also, I don't want to name who, but we did have a client of ours who did expand to Texas and specifically started a ServiceNow team and tried to in 2022. Sorry, well, we could talk about that offline. We don't necessarily want to say this as a diss in any way, but again, 2022 was the tail end of such a strange time in recruitment and going into 23. So it may have just been timing related, but they ended up disbanding and so on in 23, right? It was about a year venture. And then they went back to what they stick to what they know. Mid-size agency, not a startup here, right? This was an expansion. But do you think that some of it has to do with knowing the market well enough to choose a specialty vertical like this at the right time versus, just any time?
Well, the interesting part is that why the bigger companies haven't really entered the market is because it's quite hard to crack. So it's all enterprise clients mainly. They do now have some SMEs or mid-size, but really it's an enterprise tool. It's really expensive. It's made to automate the enterprise. So to break into the companies, you have to be good at business development. You have to learn quick. You can't just be a passive BDer and pick up a couple of jobs and go and work them. So that's probably why companies have entered and failed, or they haven't entered at all, because there's far easier IT jobs to go after. I'm in it simply because I started it for my previous company in 2016, and I had huge success for about 3 or 4 years doing it. So it made complete sense to start Unico there.
Do you see yourself expanding to other automation softwares like in the US? Like Texas has a big hub there for UiPath, for example, or do you kind of feel like Microsoft is slowly dominating really the market on that CRM automation tool, just out of personal curiosity?
No. The market is going through a bit of a state of flux and a state of change with AI, and it's moving and shifting so quick. For Unico, our strategy is to spearhead companies with ServiceNow because we are the experts in it, and we can enter the company using ServiceNow, and we're then going to land and expand across the IT division. Right. So I think I mentioned I'm working with a major US hedge fund. I've placed 6 Jira people into their division. Right. It's Jira is one major SaaS tool, and loads of companies use it. But that's not our core expertise. But what we can do is go and help and support across that. Just yesterday, I'm helping a major IT consultancy place a practice lead for platform engineering. So they create the platform and create the product and sell it to like fintech companies or health tech companies. So nothing to do with ServiceNow. But because we understand IT and how it all connects and how it works, it's not difficult for us to go and leverage the network there. I've got 15,000 IT connections in the US. Like it's not hard for me to go and pick stuff up and leverage and learn what it is and bring it back to it. We will never lie to customers, and we will be completely honest and transparent if we can do something or if we can't. I walked away from a cybersecurity job because I know nothing about cybersecurity. It's very complex. It's very big. But Jira, for example, is kind of right in that wheelhouse of like SaaS products and automation tools. So that one is quite easy for us to pick up.
You seem very optimistic about the future, and for obvious reasons. I think that some people are a little bit on the doom and gloom side about, recruitment and where it's going and blah, blah, blah. But it seems like some people would consider starting your own business in 2024 a giant risk because 23 was such a terrible year for IT, et cetera, et cetera. But nowadays, it almost feels like staying in a senior role in a big company is risky. and there's a lot of layoffs that happen here and there. It's a wild market. How do you feel about that? The whole topic of, you know, being in a startup, I would say, is not necessarily as risky as staying in a major nowadays, the way things are changing. I feel like the risk factor has changed a lot in the past few years. How do you feel about that whole thing, Michael?
For me, I did wait because the economy, or the tech market in particular, I knew was bad post COVID. And my personal life, you know, I waited to get the family house sorted. My wife and I had our daughter 2 years ago. So I kind of waited for life events and for the economy to kind of pick up. Got to the point where I couldn't wait any longer. It was like, what am I waiting for? Like, the perfect day will never come, right? And it was the best. I thought I could get it. I had the money to do. I had the plan. I had the support of my friends and family. I had the market was kind of picking up a little bit, but I really believe even in downturns, really good recruiters and good salespeople can find the opportunity. If you're average, you've got no chance, right? If you're good at what you do, this is the truth, right? But if you're good at what you do, you find the opportunity and you leverage it and you go and get your foot in the door somehow. Companies full of good recruiters and good training and good strategy will do well. Companies who have poor training, poor onboarding, higher average people, or have no training and poor strategy will fail. That's it. But yeah, my best advice to people is that if you really want to do it, get a plan in place, get people around you to support you, and just go for it. You know, because the perfect day will never come.
Yeah, touche. Julie, Jenny, any other burning questions you would like to ask of Michael in our final minutes here?
Okay.
No, I think, you know, as has been already said, you're very open, very honest, and it's really exciting to actually hear about your plans and what's going to happen over the next few years. I think it's you know, I'm confident that it's going to be an absolutely brilliant success, and I know that we'll enjoy working with you as well. So yeah, it's been great.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah, and I'll send you that $10, Jenny. No,
no, $10, is that it?
Yeah, I know. That doesn't seem
Canadian. I think that's what I need to understand. Yeah. Canadian or US dollars? Which one?
Yeah, no, I don't have any other questions. I mean, we talk a lot, so which is fantastic, and I also think that is a sign of a great partnership. It's like the amount of interaction, quality interaction, not just because sort of shooting the breeze here, but quality interaction, which actually then aligns and you're able to hopefully deliver on what a client wants. But it's a two-way street, like we talked about. And I think that the more often you can do that with value, the better, which is another success recipe, right? It's like the more conversation that you can have, the better communication that's open, honest, real, is a secret weapon.
Completely agree, Julie. Yeah. And to anybody listening, I'm hiring 8 people as soon as possible in Dallas or New York.
Yeah, absolutely. So just make my hair turn less grey and contact us straight away so that
contact us exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, part of this, Michael, I'm very happy to have had you on here to do this feature, obviously because we're working together and obviously because we believe in Unico and because, you know, we want to partner with you and we think that you guys will be a huge success. But it's also, I think, interesting just to see the ease with which you toss about ideas that seem obvious to you, but compared to other clients that we're speaking to or other experiences we hear from candidates of what the reality their life is at where they're at are actually quite progressive, what you're saying. So I actually am happy to get some of these ideas out there as being like, no, this is just obvious. It's maybe a ray of sunshine for some people who are listening who are in an environment that is not recognizing a lot of the very clear, you know, clearly articulated truths that you've given us today. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that's something which I've really enjoyed about starting up Unico is that you don't have all the answers. You got to find the answers, take someone's idea, improve it. You can do anything you want to do, and you've got to modernize, and you've got to be creative, and you can't do it the same way you've always done it. Like, the world's changed. So yeah, it's really exciting to be able to just take ideas, run with it, implement stuff. If you fail fast. And yeah, great, exciting
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all, and apologies to anybody who tried to watch this on LinkedIn, and we'll post this for you afterwards. Technical difficulties. Thank you again, Michael, and join us all. Like, anybody who's listening, join us every Wednesday at noon, or you can get this anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.